All right, so second workout of the 7th week of the fall cut, shoulders and back. But before that, we'll start with the Bible verse of the day, which comes from Proverbs chapter 19, verse 17. Whoever is generous to the poor lends to the Lord, and he will repay him for his deed. So this just goes to say that when we put others before ourselves and give back to those who are truly in need, who really cannot support themselves, really in any way, shape, or form, the homeless, or just people who are really struggling, mentally, spiritually, physically, whatever the case is, giving back and helping those in need is what the Lord calls us to do, is to really put others before ourselves as Jesus put all of us before himself. So, workout-wise, pretty much same routine. Just switched up a couple variations of a couple movements last week just based off my injury. So I think with the rear delt movement that I was doing on the pec deck machine, kind of just doing it one side at a time, I think I'm going to go back to cables and see how that feels. But we'll kind of just feel it out and go from there. But other than that, we're going to keep the new variations in the mix from now on. I like how they felt last week, so no reason to change those at all. So yeah, other than that, same routine. And we'll get in there, get the pre-workout down, and go through our usual warm-up and get things going. So I'll see you guys in there. All right, so first movement is going to be the overhead shoulder press here on the Nautilus machine. So we'll do one warm-up set and then just one top set to failure within the 5 to 9 rep range. Again, I jumped back to this specific variation of the shoulder press a couple weeks ago, so this week just going to get more reps with the maxed out weight there. So we did get more reps, so we'll be able to jump up in weight next week, and we'll have to throw on the 2 5-pound slabs, and then we'll max out this machine as well. We maxed out the lat pull down machine last week, so you guys will see that later in the video. Alright, so next movement is going to be our rear delt bias movement. So the rear delt cable flies, and I used the pec deck machine last week because of the injury I've been dealing with, but I did a warm-up set as I usually do for this, and it felt good, it felt fine, so I figured I'd jump back to it. And the difference here is I used the certain attachment where you can put your hand through and not grab anything. I have used this attachment for single arm tricep pushdowns. Those felt great, so I used it with this. I just figured, grabbing onto the cable as I've done in the past, the grip strength can be a limiting factor, and when you use an attachment where there's no grip factor included at all, you can honestly probably do a bit more weight and just have more control, and you're just going to feel more tension and get more stimulation on that targeted muscle. So for this, we'll just do one warm-up set for each side, and then one top set for each side as well, aiming for the 5 to 9 rep range, and with this, finishing with partials since it's an accessory movement. Alright, so next we'll do the dumbbell lateral raises here for this is more for the side delts. So we'll just do one warm-up set and then one top set to failure within that 5 to 9 rep range, finishing with partial reps. The big key there. And yeah, I was doing these standing up before for weeks and even months, and it's just I felt like I was using too much momentum and wasn't getting as much stimulation, specifically on the side delts, as I'd like to. So doing these sitting down, I'm able to control the weight better and just better stimulation, which is what we want. Alright, so next movement will be the cable raises. So same target muscle as the previous movement. This has just been my routine. You guys can also just do, if you're doing the dumbbell lateral raises, any variation of those, you can just do 2 sets for that, or 3 sets, whatever your preference is. But this has been my routine, and always get pretty good stimulation from doing this, so no reason to change things up here. So with this, we'll just do one warm-up set for each side, and then one top set to failure within that 5 to 9 rep range, finishing with partials for each side as well. The attachment that I showed you guys earlier for the rear delt cable flies, I'm strongly considering using that for this movement going forward, taking the grip strength, out of it, and just getting even better stimulation and being able to do more weight as well for the cable raises. Alright, so final movement for shoulders is going to be the seated dumbbell shrugs. Jumped up to the 90-pound dumbbells this week. And yeah, these felt pretty good. This wasn't the cleanest set ever, a little bit sloppy. As I was sitting here, my hip cramped up, so it just kind of made it a bit uncomfortable. And was a bit of a limiting factor, I'd say. It just kind of made it a little bit sloppy, but at the end of the day, keeping intensity the main factor. So for this, again, one warm-up set and then one top set to failure within that 5 to 10 rep range, finishing with partials. Right, so last week, only did a couple of movements. We did the pull downs and the laying down on the incline bench. We did the dumbbell rows with that. We did 2 sets pull downs, 2 sets of those last week. We didn't do the barbell rows, and we didn't do the pull-ups. So, just based on how I've been feeling with the injury, wanted to just try this out. So I did the warm-up set, and it felt good enough to where I wanted to do it again. So we did, and we jumped up in weight for the weighted pull-ups to 80 pounds. So a 45-pound plate and a 35-pound plate on the belt there. And again, one top set here to failure within that 5 to 10 rep range, finishing with partials. Incredible deep stretch here on the lats, so would definitely suggest doing these in your guys' back routine. Quick correction, we did 2 top sets here to failure within that 5 to 9 rep range, finishing with partials. Alright, so back to the old school pull down machine. So we'll do two top sets here as well to failure, finishing with partials within that 5 to 9 rep range. And starting out, I think I went just a bit too heavy on the first set to where wasn't getting the right amount of depth with the range of motion as I'd like to on this. I want to get it as close to the chest as possible. Don't necessarily need to touch your chest with this, I don't think, but pulling it at least close to it is plenty of depth. And I just went a bit too heavy on the first set, so he jumped the weight down by 20 pounds for the second set. And yeah, felt pretty good. I did this a lot during the beginning of my bodybuilding journey, and excited to get back to it now. Just always was always a staple at the beginning, and yeah, just love this movement. Tough to beat. It's a staple. It's an old school movement. It's really the old school movements where I get a little bit excited, and always have a lot of fun with those. They're just something about that old school mentality is a big part of my mindset with training. So that'll do it for today's lift. Again, appreciate your guys' support, and I will see you guys on Saturday. The video will be posted on Sunday for Saturday's workout, which will be calves and arms. God bless.